Hello everybody. In this Python tutorial, we're going to go over the Python Pillow image manipulation package. We have a whole bunch of examples of cool things you can do with that package, so let's go ahead and get started. If you would like more information about the Pillow package, you can go to python.org and then go to the Python package index. And you will land on a page that looks something like this. Then you can go to the home page. And then you can go to the documentation. And this will give you a whole bunch of information about the package, instructions to install, and all that good stuff. If you are using the Anaconda distribution, I believe Pillow comes with that and you should be good to go. Okay, so the first thing we did is we imported our modules. For Pillow, we use from pill, import, image, image enhance, image ops, image draw, and image filter. And we also imported glob. Now, we want to go ahead and pull in an image and show some information for that image. In order to do that, we're going to use image that we imported here, dot open. Then we put in our path for where that image is with the image file name and the image file type extension. If you have your image or images in your working directory, you probably don't have to put in the full path. Then we use print to display our information for our bird image. So we're going to display the format, size, and mode. Then we use our bird variable .show to show the image. So if we go over here and take a quick look, this is what our bird image will look like. Let's go ahead and run this. You can see our bird image pops up, and you'll also notice that we get our format, which is JPEG, the size, and the image mode, which is red, green, blue. One more note, from time to time, for compatibility reasons, you may need to convert an image. And in order to do that, you can use .convert. For our next example, we're going to go over one way that you can resize a series of images all at the same time. To do that, we use a for loop with enumerate. So we type out for I, comma, file name in enumerate. Then we use our glob module that we imported here. We type out glob.glob, we put in the path, and using glob, we can use this star wildcard character, and that will help us find any JPEGs, specifically JPEGs with the extension JPEG. Then we use our image module .open. We put in our file name from our for loop .resize, and this will resize all of the images that have this extension to 600 by 600. We assign that to the image variable. Then we use that image variable .save with string interpolation and our curly bracket placeholders. In this first placeholder, that will be the name resized. In the second placeholder, that will use our index from our for loop, and that will help us enumerate our new file names. We put in +1 so they don't start at 0. For our third placeholder, that will put in the image file extension, JPEG. The three files that have the JPEG extension are here, here, and here. So let's take a look. You can see they're kind of small. Let's go ahead and run our code. And now we have our resized images that are 600 by 600. Here, here, and here. Next up, if you would like to rotate an image, then you can reference your image, .rotate, and put in the degrees you would like to rotate that image. In this case, we've assigned this to a new variable, and then we use that variable .show. Let's go ahead and run it. And you can see here, we've rotated that image 45 degrees. One way that you can create a mirror of your image is to use image ops that we imported here, dot mirror. And in the mirror round brackets, put in your image. Once again, we've assigned that to a new variable. Use that variable .show. And let's open up the original bird image. So you can see here we have mirror images of the bird. If you would like to flip your image, you can use imageops.flip. Let's take a look. And you can see we have our flipped bird image. For our next example, we're going to go over how you can overlay a shape onto an image. From time to time, if you're going to make a change to an image and it will change that original image, you may want to make a copy. So in this case, we used our bird image .copy and assigned that to a new variable. And you may not always know if your change is going to happen in place and change that original image. And a lot of times I go ahead and just use a copy just to be safe. Okay, so we've made our copy of the bird image. We've assigned it to image with shape. And what we want to do is to put a rectangle around that bird and overlay that shape onto the image. To do that, we use image draw. Recall, we imported that here. Dot draw. Then we put in our image with shape variable. Then we use dot rectangle. And inside the rectangle round brackets, we put our coordinates for where we want to place that shape. This first set of coordinates will be for the upper left. The second set of coordinates will be for the bottom right. So let's go ahead and run it. And you can see we have put a rectangle around the bird. Now, if you're not sure where those coordinates should be, one thing you can do is to pull your image into an image manipulation program. So let's go ahead and show you an example of that. We've gone ahead and pulled our image into Pixelmator, and you'll notice here in this toolbar we have the X and Y coordinates. And as you drag your cursor around on the image, you'll notice that the X and Y coordinates will change according to where the cursor is. And this can help you find out what the coordinates might be depending on what you're trying to do. Next up, let's say you wanted to add a border to an image. One way you can do that is to use imageops.expand. Go ahead and put in your variable. In this case, we're just going to use a copy of the bird image, and then define the measurements for your border and determine what color you'd like to use. We've assigned all that to the image with border variable, and then we use image with border.show. Let's run it. And you can see we have a border around our bird image. Next, let's go over how you can crop an image. So the first thing we did is we used image.open. We put in the path for the image that we want to use, along with the correct extension. Now notice that this is a JPEG, but the extension here is JPG. We've assigned that to the flowers variable, and then we're going to go ahead and use that variable with show to show the original image. Now, to crop it, we use our flowers variable, .crop, and inside the round brackets and inside of a tuple, we put our coordinates, which start with left, then it goes to upper, right, and lower. We've assigned that to the variable flowers cropped. To save it, we use flowerscropped.save, and we put in our path with a new file name and the correct extension. And we're going to go ahead and show that newly cropped image here. Now once again, let's go ahead and pull that image into Pixelmator just to show you how you might determine these coordinates. Okay, so here we have our image, and what we want to do is to crop this flower right here. Now as we mentioned, it goes left, upper, right, lower. So we're going to use our X and Y coordinates. starting with the left here, this would be X. And for that left, using the X coordinate, we can see to crop that flower, we want to start that at around 1210, right where the cursor is right now. Then for the upper, we're going to use Y, and we'd put that around 1560. Then for the right, using X again, we use 1775. And then for the lower, we would use Y again at around 2090. Let's go ahead and run our code. So here we have our cropped image that we pulled out of our original image here. Now you'll also notice that we saved that image into our images folder using the file name flowers cropped, which is here. Next up, let's go over how you can paste an image onto another image. Here we've gone ahead and pulled in a frog image, and then here we're going to go ahead and use our flowers image from before, but we're going to use a copy. And what we want to do is to paste a little frog image onto the flowers image. To do that, we use our flowers copy variable .paste, and inside the paste round brackets, we put our frog image, and then here we put in the coordinates for where we would like to paste that image. We're going to go ahead and save this new image with the frog pasted onto the flowers using our flowers copy variable .save. And of course, we're going to go ahead and use show to show the new image. Let's run it. And you can see here, we've pasted a little frog into our flowers. Now you'll notice this doesn't look very good. And here in just a little bit, we're going to go over a couple different ways that you can blend or make a composite of images and make it look more natural. Now using our save, here we have a new image saved with that frog pasted into the flowers in our images folder. Here. Next up, let's go over how you can adjust the brightness of an image. Here we've gone ahead and pulled in an image of the sky. And what we want to do is to take that image and brighten it up a little bit. And this is what the image looks like. So one way to do that is to use image enhance that we imported here. Dot brightness, we put in our sky image, dot enhance, and we're going to enhance that with a value of 1.5. We're going to go ahead and save that new brightened image and show it. Let's go ahead and run it. So this was our original image, and then here we have our new brightened image. If you would ever like to apply a filter or an effect to your images, you can do that as well. Once again, we're going to go ahead and use our bird image, and to apply that filter or effect, we use dot filter. Then in the filter round brackets, we use image filter. We imported that here. Dot emboss. We assign that to the variable bird blur. Then we use that variable .show. And in this case, we're just going to show the effect. Now notice that there are several other filters that you could use that are listed here. Let's go ahead and run it. And you can see here we have our embossed effect with our bird image. Now, let's say you wanted to take an image and change just one part of the coloring of that image. Well, you can do that as well. So let's go ahead and open up this image that we're going to use. And you'll notice that the middle of this flower is yellow. And let's say we wanted to change just that color. Now to do that, we're going to go ahead and open up the image. Let's go ahead and comment that out because we already have that image open. We don't need to show it again. Then we use our flower variable with split, and that will do a sort of unpacking to split those colors up and assign them to these variables, red, green, and blue. Then we use our image module .merge, and for the merge, for the first argument, we put in red, green, blue, and then for the second argument, here, this is where we can assign our new color. And this is also where you would want to change these around and play with them a little bit to change that to different colors. In this case, we're going to use blue, green, red. We've assigned all that to the variable flower color, and then we use that variable .show. So let's go ahead and run it. So you can see here, this was our original image where the middle of the flower was yellow. And then here we've changed that, and now it's blue. So as we mentioned, if you wanted to change that even more, you could play around with these tuple values. So instead of blue, green, red, let's make it red, green, red, and see what that looks like. Okay, so instead of blue, now we get a type of purplish color. You can also convert your image to black and white. So to do that, we're going to use our flower image .convert, and we're going to put in the value L, and that will turn that image into a type of grayscale black and white image. We've assigned that to our variable, then we use that variable .show. Let's go ahead and take a look. And you can see here we have our black and white image. Okay, so earlier, if you recall, we pasted a little frog into some flowers, and it really didn't look very good. Now, one way you can combine images and make it look just a little bit more natural is to use Composite. And a quick note, before we go over our Composite code, if you're using Composite or Blend, your images must be the same size and the same mode for it to work. So we've gone ahead here, and we've opened up or imported two images. One image of the ocean and one image of a sailboat. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. So you can see here we have the image of the ocean, and then here we have an image of a sailboat. Now what we'd like to do is to take that image of the sailboat and to kind of superimpose that onto the image of the ocean. So one way you can do that is to start out with one of your images. In this case, we're going to use the sailboat. Once again, we use .split, and that will do a sort of unpacking and assign the colors to these variables. And notice in this case, we also have an alpha element. So we have red, green, blue, and alpha. And the alpha is for the image transparency. Then we use that alpha variable with a point and a function and assign that to alpha. And if you'd like more information on how that point works, we have a short description here. Then to get our composite, we use our image module .composite. We're going to go ahead and put in our ocean image. Then we put in our sailboat image, and then we put in our alpha. And of course, we want to go ahead and show it, so we use our composite image.show. Let's go ahead and run it. So you can see we have superimposed our sailboat. It's kind of light, and if you wanted to change the way that looks, one thing you could do is to play with this value here. However, we have successfully superimposed the image of the sailboat into our ocean image. One more note. Now notice for this composite example, we used a PNG, and we used an alpha element. And since we used a PNG, that gave us our alpha element. And we checked that using the variable of that PNG.mode. So if you're ever doing something with an image and you need that alpha element and you're using an image type that does not have that alpha element, you may have to do a conversion or something that will allow it to be compatible. Next up, let's go over how you can blend two images together, which is very similar to the composite example we just went over. Here, we've gone ahead and opened up and imported our images, one for the sky and one for the bird. Let's go ahead and take a look at those images. And what we want to do is to take this image and blend it in with this image. So once you have pulled in your images, you can use the image module .blend and then put in those images in the round brackets. And then you'll notice that the third argument is for the alpha value. And for that, we put in 0.5. Now, as we've mentioned, occasionally you may have some issues doing certain things to your images depending on the format or mode of the image type, such as RGBA or RGB, or the image file type, such as JPEG versus PNG, or if the images are not the same size. And unless you're extremely familiar with images and Pillow, you may not always know what's going to work. However, if you know how to change those or convert those and resize them and so on, you'll be able to figure it out. So as we mentioned, one way you can convert images is to use .convert. One way you can resize is to use .resize. And then in this case, we started out with JPEGs, but we're going to save the final result as a PNG. Because when we tried to save it as a JPEG, there was a warning that said, cannot write mode RGBA as JPEG. So a quick fix for that was just to save it as a PNG. And I'm sure there's other ways that you could fix that, but this seemed to work just fine. Okay, so a quick recap. We pulled in our images of the sky and the bird, and we want to blend those together. So to do that, we used image.blend. We put in our images with the alpha value. Then we use that variable .show. And we're also going to save that as a newly blended image using the variable .save. So let's take a look. And you can see we have our image of the sky with the lights and the rainbow, and we've blended that with our image of the bird and the tree. Pretty cool. And as we mentioned, we saved that into our images folder. And here it is. That's all we have for this tutorial. Join us again next time.